Hello and welcome to Soul Bites number 4. It's a special time. If you are listening to this live or close to the time, then you'll be right on the same page with me. If you're listening to this in the future, it's December 22nd right now. You might be ahead of where we are. Things are moving really fast. So I'm calling this Soul Bites, the conjunction and awakening your inner light. Even though Soul Bites basically are text-based, so I've got some text here. And I'm going to be sharing it with you. But I just want to say a few words to preface. I'll be talking about this more later in the week and going deeper. But the conjunction, we're taught in Torah that astrology is a science when it's used correctly. We're allowed to use it to understand more about our basic nature, our tendencies, and so forth. We're not allowed to use it to predict the future. Why? Because fundamentally, when we connect to God, when we connect to our purpose, we are above the stars. The stars are like a mechanism. By stars, I mean the movements, the orbits of the heavenly bodies. It's actually their orbits, their pathways. That's like a mechanism which is controlled by the Ophanim, the cycle angels, and which brings, it's like driving a car, the car's not driving itself, but it operates through a particular mechanism. But we are able, when we connect on a very deep, high level, we're able to be in the driver's seat, or at least to a certain degree. We're able to, influence how things turn out, and certainly for ourselves. So nevertheless, something seems to be happening, or not nevertheless, at the same time, and as part of that, something seems to be happening. I have to say that I myself, I myself have experienced unexpectedly. I really didn't anticipate this at all, but I've experienced and am experiencing some kind of inner shift, and which is bringing up a lot of profound and interesting thoughts in me, which I'll share perhaps more about tomorrow. But it does really, really speak to what I wanted to share with you anyway, from a text that I call, it's the Sikha of the Lubavitcher Rebbe. I call this material, which is, I call it Secrets of the Shift. It's also known Kabbalistically from a Torah perspective as Torah Shel Mashiach. It's Messianic Torah, the Torah of Mashiach, redemptive Torah. Basically, it's a transmission, all of this body of work, not just what I'm going to do, a little snippet I'm going to share with you, the soul bite I want to share with you momentarily. But it is, all of this body of work is a direct download that is coming from the future. That is a carrier wave, or let's say a transmission of potential, that as we absorb it and connect to it, will pull us forward into a new age, into a new way of being, into a new reality that we know as the Geula, as the Messianic age. And it's not just an external thing. It's not just a shift in the nature of nature, a world of heaven on earth, a conquering of sickness, of poverty, of separateness, of death, and so forth. But in a very real sense, it's an inner metamorphosis. It's an inner awakening where you will begin to experience more and more divinity and a deeper reality from the inside out. Now, I do need to say that I used to, maybe some of you know me from several years ago. Back in 2010, I started a show called Quantum Healing, Consciousness, and Soul, and I hosted many luminaries in the world of energy healing and thought leadership, and some of them in every one of my shows, every one of my telesummits were teachers of authentic Kabbalah, of Hasidus, but many of them were had uncovered or innovated remarkable healing techniques or other kinds of insights, life-shifting insights from within. And that got me very connected to the whole consciousness space. Some people call it the New Age movement. Some people applaud it. Some people denigrate it. The truth is, like most things in the world, it has a positive aspect and a less positive aspect. The positive aspect is we are destined to awaken from the inside out. We are destined to be co-creative. There's no question about it. And it's already happening now, and it has to happen a lot more. At the same time, it's so easy for the ego to take over. It's so easy for the left brain to think it knows, or to try to, have you ever tried to figure something out? What are you doing? You're looking for information in your left brain. You're looking for information from the past. It's not real. It's a level of story. The left brain is very important, don't get me wrong. But we need to be more and more real, meaning more and more present and alive to what's actually going on beneath all of the narratives, beneath all of the stories, whether they're our own or, you know, from the collective, geopolitics or any other thought form, system of thinking. So I'm going to read this to you without further ado, because I would like to keep these short. That's what we call them bites. I'm going to read a couple paragraphs, and I'm just introducing the energy from the Torah. Oh, what I didn't finish saying, what's missing, and what I have clarified to myself as my role is to connect, to bridge inner real consciousness with human consciousness, divine consciousness, the light from above with human consciousness and with the vessels from below. So that involves a clarification of the ego, that involves connecting to the Torah, the blueprint for creation, and then integrating it into our own lives as we work with the darkness and the light within our beings. I'm talking fast, too fast, because I have a lot to say, but anyway, so I'm going to just read this to you kind of slowly. I probably won't explain much, and I'm just putting it on the table. It's divine transmission. I want to just repeat to you that all of this level of Torah, this messianic Torah, Torah Toshel Mashiach, secrets of the shift, Chassidus, authentic Kabbalah, this is literally Divrei Elokim Chaim. This is alive. This is a portal of transmission, or portals of transmission from the highest above, from the source, through your mind, heart, and then activating your soul. That's what's happening here. It's transmitting potential, and it's opening new portals, and it's calling on your soul to awaken, and it's calling on your mind to expand. It's calling upon you to move to a new level of not knowing, and then from there to know more, and then to not know again, and then from there to know more. If this is speaking to you and you're not understanding it, just listen again, because I'm saying a lot. I just feel that I need to get this out. Okay, so I'm starting right in the middle. I'm not explaining anything at this point. I'm just going to put this in our field here. Haklal, the core cosmic principle. Sha'etzem hu behelen, va'or hu begilui, that the essence. What is essence? It is the indivisible, indescribable, unrevealable, hidden potential that is the source of everything that will happen. Like your essence is everything that will ever show up as part of you or from you, but you'll never be able to reveal your essence, because as soon as you reveal something from your essence in this universe, it's not your essence anymore. It's like light shining off of the sun. So there's a principle, it's a cosmic principle, that the essence is continuously always hidden and inaccessible in that sense. And light, anything that comes out of the essence, is revelation. So we associate essence with hiddenness, concealment, in a way untouchability, and we associate light with visibility. Light is what we can see or feel. So we can associate light with revelation. This is a principle that we live by. It's an idea. It's a rule of reality that we experience as humans. But this principle that you can never touch the essence or really connect to the whole essence, and you could only reveal like pieces of it, like the light, that's only when you're in a state of other. We're also talking about God's essence. Only when you're in a state of other, of separateness. When you're standing outside, whether outside of yourself or outside of God, which is the normal state of human living, human being, right? So you can never touch the essence because you're an outsider. Looking from the outside in, looking outside the sun, you can never get the essence of the sun. You wouldn't anyway survive it. You can only get the light from the sun, and only when you're at a distance, and only when it's shining through a space of darkness. But that is a cosmic principle, but only when you're an other, only when you're outside, when you're looking from the outside in. So you can never receive the essence, only just a glimmer of the light. Lachin, and that's why we call it, that's the best we can do. That's why we call this glimmer of light, light. La'etzem helen, we call the essence darkness, hiddenness. Now we're experiencing a lot of darkness, a lot of not knowing, a lot of even fear. A lot of the ego hates the identity, the human identity hates uncertainty. It's terrifying terrifying. And it feels like darkness. The world is going into darkness. That's the experience, but that's only because we're looking from the outside, only because we're looking from the perspective of the other. And therefore, any little glimmer of hope or positivity or whatever we get, we consider that light, and what we don't know, what we can't understand, we call that's coming from the essence, that's beyond us, we call that concealment or darkness. From the perspective of the essence itself, if you're looking from the inside out, it's the opposite. The opposite is true. That anything that we can understand with our left brain, anything that we can grasp, anything that we can use to explain ourselves, any bit of hope, this is called darkness compared to what's really going on, compared to the essence. You know what? I think I'm going to leave it at that. I said I was going to read 2 paragraphs, but I see there are 3 here, and I see it's not going to be understandable if I don't explain it. Yeah, I have to explain what came before, and it's too complicated to do right here. So let's just leave it at that. We'll leave it as a real soul bite, and just maybe let's see if there are any questions here. I see hellos, but no questions. Okay, so basically, let's just back up, and I will talk about this more tomorrow, but just understand that what's happening now in our times is part of the blueprint for creation. It's predicted. There's a switch that's happening. There's a shift. There's a transformation, a transposition, a flip in perspective that's cosmic, that's quantum. And what that means is that instead of looking at the light, at divinity, at truth, at awareness from the outside in, like as separate beings, the movement, God is encouraging us, and the Torah is encouraging us to begin to awaken from the inside out. Some people call that awakening to your sovereignty, awakening to your truer self. Now, as I said in the beginning, we have to be careful about this, like handle with care, because it's very easy for the ego to take over. It's very easy for the left brain to take over, and then you fall down into a pit. Because we're looking for truth. We're not looking for imagination. We're not looking for a transcendental experience. We're not looking to feel really cool. You know, people like to say my truth, your truth. You can talk about your preferences and what works for you, but there is no such thing as your truth. There's such a thing as your perspective on the truth, or mine. The truth is essence, divine essence. Some people define God as love. It's God, of course, is the essence of all love, the epitome of all love, the source of all love. And yet, God is not love. God cannot be described and defined and limited to any one quality. God, then where does all the severity, where does all the strength, the might, the harshness, the vessels, the growth process, where does all of that come from? So what you could define God as, if you want to just put a word on that, on essence, you could define God as truth. All truth is God. God is all truth. And of course, God is even beyond that. But that's a working definition. So we the more we can open, to our own, the flow of what our soul wants to tell us, a deeper awareness of what's happening inside of our beings, including our bodies, of the holiness of everything. And the more we can also question that, not know it, connect to a higher, not know, unknow it, unknow whatever it is that we think we know, connect to a higher source, connect to the Torah, and then experience that not as just light from the outside, but begin to allow it to awaken and activate the light from the inside. Then we're at the conjunction. What's the conjunction? I'm pretty interested. I don't know so much about astrology, but I'm thinking that Saturn, by the way, might be representing Bina, the vessels, the internal and the personal, and Jupiter might be representing the Chachma, the vision, the intuitive. I don't know enough about it to know if that's true, but there is a connection between the inner and the outer. And there is a connection between heaven and earth. And there is a connection between you and God, and you and your higher self, you and the core of your soul. And that's the real conjunction. And that, I believe, is being facilitated by what's happening or expressed through, engineered through, in part through, that potential is opening up through what's happening in the cosmos. Remember, as I said in the beginning, the cosmos, the orbits of the heavenly bodies controlled by the Ophanim. The cycle angels are just simply the mechanism through which God is bringing the spiritual into the physical, the potential into the actual. but we can rise above, and we can be part of the co-creative process and not just the manifested result. And that's part of what the awakening from the inside is about. I realize this is too much information and not well brought down, but I just, instead of just reading a couple lines, I really wanted to speak a little bit to what's happening and just give you at least an energetic spiritual sense. Maybe we end by just checking in. If you want to close your eyes. I can't even tell you the few things I'm experiencing today. And I'm checking in with friends and family and, colleagues, and finding that a lot of people are having parallel experiences, which is pretty interesting. Things are opening up. So you may not be feeling that. Some people are feeling a lot of fear, and that's part of the process, because as the light is pushing out, the darkness is cracking and coming to the surface. I encourage you to just be with that wherever you are in the process, and just open to an awareness that there's something so much bigger, so much deeper going on. This morning I woke up and felt like a headache and like I needed to cry. And as I spoke to my husband about it, I felt it, that in a ball of energy rising up so much, so big. And then as I just let it rise up, it turned into something very different. And things are flowing out from the inside, the things that have kept your inside shut off from your consciousness. By inside, I mean your soul, your source, your light, your creator, your hidden potential, your miraculous powers, all of it. The things that have been keeping it squashed and squished down so that you could not connect with it in your conscious self, those things are now being broken apart by the light that's emerging from within. And that's personal, and that's collective and global. And that's why we see so many weird things happening, and so many different narratives, and so many different emotions, and so many things breaking down, and so much anger and fear. It's all was in there. It's all from the primordial snake, and now it's being lifted up, cracked apart, and it's flying all over the place. Connect in. The deeper you connect in, the better it's going to be. This is real, you guys. It's real. And it's happening. And you're here at this time in your body, in your life, to be an influencer and to be part of it. Oh, last but not least, I've decided that I'm going to create an event with some wonderful co-hosts, and all of you and anyone you can bring to it online on Monday. I think it's going to start at 5 Israel time, which would be minus 7:10 a.m. Eastern time, 7 a.m. California time. But don't worry, because it's going to go for about 4 hours. And you don't have to be there the whole time. You can pop in and out. I'm going to have some amazing, guest hosts popping in and out. And I'm going to also be making space for you to share, where it's going to be called Farewell to 2020 and the Great Awakening of the Souls. Farewell to 2020 and, hello to the Great Awakening of the Souls. So we're going to be talking about what we are letting go of, what we're opening to. There's going to be a lot of wisdom shared, a lot of Torah shared, but it's not going to be a class or even a series of classes. It's going to be an unfoldment, an exploration, a discovery, and a co-creation. So I encourage you strongly to, I'm going to be sending an email about that, I hope by tomorrow, but save the date. It's Monday, December 28th. It's been an amazing year. A lot of meanings to that word. But it is only the rising up of the light to shatter the darkness. We are entering a new age. The process has been going on for a while, but we've hit the conjunction, and now we get to step into that. So again, save the date, starting 10 a.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Israel time, for about 4 hours, Monday, December 27th. And I'm also doing a practical workshop as a follow-up. I haven't named it yet, but something like Awaken Your Soul or Begin Waking Your, whatever. I'll take your suggestions if you want, and that will be on Tuesday, December 29th. So save those 2 dates if you want to really explore this. And we'll be co-creating together. We'll be praying. We'll be drawing down light. We'll be learning. We'll be sharing. We'll be supporting. We'll be awakening. I've never done an event exactly like this, so I'm really, really excited. But we've never been in a time like this. So it's time for the new. It's time for the inner. It's time for the collective. That's another thing that I've realized today. And it's not like a mental thing. one of the qualities that's standing out for me today is it's not mental. It's a shift for me because not that I don't experience things deeply, emotionally, and spiritually. I have for a long time, but this is like so real that for the first time, I think ever, I actually tangibly feel that I'm a spark in a giant collective that each of us are a piece of, but I feel it for real. And the more I can wake up my own leadership and influence, my own spark, my own light, the more the whole will lift up. And the same with you. The same with you. What is your role? What is your design function in this cosmic, in this universe, in this process? Maybe we'll end with you asking yourself that. And you don't have to come up with an answer. That's the thing. It's not going to come from the past. It's not going to come from the left brain. It's going to come from the future, from inside. And from above, which you will experience as inside. Remember, the light that we've been living with is a light that we experience as an other. It's a light from shining from the outside in, and therefore we can never, it doesn't satiate us fully because there's darkness inside, A, and B, that light is withdrawing. The world is becoming, so unpredictable, so quote unquote dark. And so we see that it's getting dark, the light is going away. I'm just recapping what we learned from inside the text. But underneath the surface, there's a shift going on, and it's a quantum shift, an awakening, a quantum awakening, and that is the light from the inside, a light from oneness, not from separateness. And I know that it may seem like just words right now, but believe me, this is realer than anything that you or I have experienced till now. It's happening. It's happening. And it's not going to miss anyone. So I'll leave it at that, and hope to see you tomorrow with Going Deeper. Save the date, Monday, Tuesday. Tell your friends. Wait for my email. I'll also post on Facebook, and let's make this as powerful as we can. All right. Get ready to say goodbye to 2020 and move on into the future. Lots of love. Take care, everyone.